Hi, now it's time to get into the really interesting stuff, the tweak scripts. So the first question to ask is, where are the tweak scripts? Well, if we are in the new random page, you can find them here. Or you can find them here. Tweak it. We have set up a Julia here now. Let's start with something more interesting. Let's start with a Simul 3. There. Looks like this. If you find that the thumbnails in this grid don't look as good as you would like, you have options here, and down here you can set another quality there. I have now set it to 300. I think by default it's set to 50. It will make the thumbnails load a little slower, but I think it's worth it. So let's take a look at the tweak scripts. I slide out this pane here and we go to tweak it, and here you have the tweak scripts, and they are sorted under different headers. These headers can be collapsed. You tap them like this and you can collapse them, so it will be a little more easy to find stuff if you don't have to see all the scripts at the same time. The first header here, colors, have several scripts here for doing stuff with colors that you can do in the palette editor too, but it can be rather handy to be able to do them directly in the variance editor, for instance, because these tweak scripts can be used in the new random or in the variance editor. One of my favorites is this analogous colors. Select them like this and you make a roll, and here you see analogous colors. They are a little bit more muted, and the color stops are closer to each other. The different colors, not the stops but the colors, are closer to each other. There are more shades of the same color than very different colors. And what's to be noted here are the grayscale colors. If you have grayscale colors here, you will get a grayscale fractal, but with added coloring. You see you have some pink in this one. Make another roll. Here you see more red and green and yellow. That can be rather interesting too. Can look quite nice actually. Another thing here while we're at the subject, a quick way to have a preview of fractals here is to long press them, and you see the fractal pops up in the quick look like that. So you don't have to first open it in the preview page and then tap it here. You can go directly to the quick look. If you want pure grayscale color, you choose the pure grayscale color script. You didn't think of that, did you? No? Then you get just grayscale, no added colors at all, which can be rather good when you're working with fractals, because then you can concentrate on the shapes and don't get distracted by the colors. You have more stuff here. You have the 3 scripts. That's you can see random 2 to 12 colors, and 30 to 50, and 4 to 30. When you have a lot of color stubs, the fractals tend to get less vivid. If we choose this 30 to 50, see what effect that will have. Looks like this. If instead choose 2 to 12 colors, you see you get more vivid fractals. I seldom go over 30 colors if I'm not using one of the factory palettes, because they all have all the color stops. And that's a rather good middle ground. Or if I set the colors myself in the palette editor, I set it to maybe 24, 25 or something top. You can also rotate the colors here. What you do then is that you rotate the palette. It will be more clear when I go into the palette editor. The next heading is add pre-post normal varpars. Here you can add extra variations in the normal group, in the finals, and in the post groups or pre-groups, both for ordinary transforms and for final transforms. So if we choose this add normal varpar args, that's an abbreviation for arguments, which is Lua lingo for settings. We got to tell the app now what normal variation we want to add. So we go for args and you get the list. And here you can have several selections, not only one. But the result tends to be better if you only add one variation at a time. So let's see what we can add here. Let's add a B circle, because that's rather visible. You can recognize it at once. Now, if you hit the make button from here, you won't see any B circle, because you have to go back to the factory list. Then the B circle will appear. And let's see what the app has done here. We can choose this one, and we'll take a look at the info. Zoom in here. Here we have a lot of information. But what's interesting here is the Xforms. We have Xform 1 here at the top, and we can see that what has been added is a B circle in the normal group, and in Xform 2 a B circle in the normal group, and in Xform 3 a B circle in the normal group, and the same in Xform 4 and 5. So what this I'll show you this again. When you get look at a code like this, or the info, to dismiss it you just slide it down and close it like that. So what this script does is it inserts this B circle that we set in the arguments into every transform. But if we go to the args, we can see here we have also a value up here, and we can set the weight of the B circle, how much weight do we want it to have, and we can set the parameters. We can make it smaller like this, we can make that smaller too, like that, and we go back to, we tap script setup and go back. Then you see we have two buttons up here, variations. Where we are now, we have chosen the B circle, and we have arguments. If we tap arguments, you have another weight there. So what's that? Well, that is how often the script will insert the chosen variation. In this case, the B circle. You saw we had a B circle in every normal group, and the weight is set to 1 now. If we lower this 0.5, then the script will insert a B circle in 50% of the transforms in the normal groups. So let's see how that will look. Here we have, you can see the B circle here, and let's look where the script has inserted it. First transform, you have a B circle in. Second transform, you only have a new Julian in the variation. normal variation group. And in the third X form you have a B circle, and in the fourth you have a B circle, and in the fifth you have the B circle. So when you lower that number, you see it's not strictly 50% of the transforms now, but if you lower the number, you will get more transforms the variation you have chosen is not inserted in. And that can often be more interesting. So experiment with that. You can set it even lower, 0.25. And I got to go back like that. I will still get the B circle, but not in every transform. And the same goes for all the others here. Add normal warpar finals, then you add B. You can try add a B circle there too. Let's see how that looks. If you have several final transforms, it might make sense to change the argument, but often you don't, so it's not as important when you do it in the finals. But you still have to change the values of the parameters. We go back to the factory scripts like that before we press the make button, and we will have the B circle as a final transform. The next heading is the variation group chains, or you can append and prepend new variation groups, but they will often be empty groups. So I don't find this section so useful. Maybe it's just because I haven't found a very good way to work with it, but that is what it does. More interesting is the splicing. What we can do with this is that you take the characteristics from one random fractal made from another script, and you insert it in the fractal that you have here. If you use the post plus matrices concat, it inserts the variations from another script into this fractal, and it also inserts the matrix 2D variation, which lets you change the pre and post groups without changing the normal group. Let's try that. We choose the post here, and you get to this setting where you can choose a script. It comes preset to simul3. Let's choose something else. Let's choose row cpow, because we don't have any cpow in the simul3, so it can be interesting to see. It has no values, as you can see. So you just go back to the factory script again and hit the make button. And let's see what we have here now. You can see the cpow shape appear here. Let's take a look what it has done. We go to the info, and here let's look for cpow. In the variation group post 2 you have a cpow, and in the variation group post 3 you have a matrix 2D. And if you change the matrix of the matrix 2D, you will change how the cpow interacts with a normal group. And in Xform 2 you have the same. You have a cpow and a matrix 3D. You see it sets this cpow into every transform. This can be very powerful to change a fractal that you already have into something completely different. Let's choose another script. See what it will get. Let's try a flower star. No. I have to go back here, like that, or else the effect will not be visible. You see, you get another effect here, because there are other variations that are inserted in the port groups from this flower star script. So experiment with this, and the good thing, you can of course use your own scripts. I have a linear, a rectangular and hexacrop here. If I choose that, I will get something quite unique. So when you build up your own library of scripted fractals that you save from your configured fractals, you have a lot of use for them in these splicing scripts. So that's splicing. Then we get to another script that also uses another script to insert things in the fractal. That's the subflames. You have two subflames here, add subflame final and add subflame xform. So let's start with a final. Choose it and go for arguments, and you can choose here also another script, raw Julian for instance, and then it will use a fractal from the raw Julian script, a random generated fractal, that it will use as a final transform. Let's try it. You see you have more Julian forms here, these round shapes. And if we try another, let's try another here. Fields 2. That's a very cloudy fractal. What will that do as a final? You see, you get more cloudy effects, but with the simul 3 shapes still intact in many of them. How about this one? Looks like rather interesting, I think. Yeah, like that one. In fact, let's put it in the favorites. Like that. We can try another one. I think you see how it works now, but let's try another one anyway, just for fun. It's important to remember that we are doing this to have fun. Corrugated. Let's try that. That would be rather wild, I think. It is. If it's usable, I don't know. It will, of course, have different effects depending on what fractal you have to start with. We had simul 3 fractals now. If you have raw Julia, it will affect them in another way. So there's plenty of room for experimentation there. So let's take a look at add subflame xform. What the subflames does is take a shape from another fractal and use it as a shape in the fractal you put them into. So let's have something here that is visible. Let's add raw Julian. We go back to the factory tab there. And you got to save one of these and go into the xform editor for you to see what it really does. So let's try this one. Put it in the favorites. We go to the favorites. We open it up and go into the xform editor. So where do we have the subflame now? Xform number 6 is the subflame. Here, if we solo that, you see you only have one ring there, which is of course the Julian. But let's change it around a bit. Select it, go to variation. It won't do much different, I think, maybe a little. To change the weights, well, you can see it gets smaller. But let's keep it on 1. I'll go back some digits there, like that. And let's go into the Xform editor. From the Xform 6 field there, we go to the graphical editor. If we move this triangle around now, nothing happens. I undo that. That's because when you change the matrix of the subframe, you have to go to the post tab. Get the post triangle there. And now, you see, this Julian shape gets moved around. You can make it bigger, really big, or make it really small. Rotate it. Won't make much difference to round shape, but if you don't have a round shape, it will make difference. So that way you can tailor your shape. That's the subflames. And the next of the final transforms. And you have 3 here. Well, they are not quite all random because the available transform variations to be used are coded into the script. So there are a couple of them. Let's try them. This adds 1 final transform. And this adds 2. Then you get 2 final transforms, not 2 variations in 1 final transform, but 1 in each, or 3. That's often a quick way to make changes and see if you can find something more interesting in a fractal. Not much more to be said about that. Then we have this, add pre-warper deprecated. I do not know what deprecated means, but sure it's right. And add post warper. That's also fast way to make changes. If we'll add a pre-Julia, for instance, you will get a fast change, or a pre-Luni. That will give you another result. These are chosen because they are good variations to put in pre and post groups. And you have the same for the post groups here. Post CPO. You see, you get this star swirl kind of shape. So experiment and try these ones on a variety of fractals. You will be sure to find something interesting there. Then you have Leonard scripts. That's my scripts that I have made, and I have made them to be valuable tools for doing certain stuff in fractals, like 1-to-1 if you want a square fractal, like this. You always get the same ratio on the thumbnails here, but you have to crop the image when you have rendered it. Or 69 if you are more into a cinematic mood, like this. And you have this add blur. A lot of fractals look very good if you add a bit of blur. Let's see how it looks. You get these smooth images, smooth fractals. And you have add blur 3D, add Gaussian blur, slightly different. And you have, this is one of my favorites, add normal, blur, pixelize. You get this effect. You get a pixelated fractal made up of very small squares. And you have variations on that. You have blur zoom, you have blur linear. Is another kind of blur. There are several kinds of blurs in the set of variations of try them out. They can make wonders. Radial blur is another favorite. Looks like this. And this also will depend on what you put them in. If you have another scripted fractal, or some fractal you have made from scratch, they will have a slightly different effect. And then you have background dark and background light. Let's try background light. And then you get fractals on non-black backgrounds. So what does this script do? We're going to take a look here. Did you see what I did? Background light is selected and I hit view down here. And here we see the Lua script. As you can see, there are not many lines and it's a very simple language. Everything you change starts with flame, dot, and what you want to change, brightness. So brightness is set to 50. We'll zoom in here. The vibrancy is set to 2, slightly higher. And the flame dot gamma, the gamma is set to 4, not much change. And the background here, the background is made up of red, green and blue. And as you can see, it says here math.random, and you have parentheses, and you have 150 and 250. That means that a red number will change randomly between 150 and 250. And it's the same for all of them. So there are more things changed than just setting the background to a light color. And the same goes for the dark background. You see, you still get a dark background, but it's not white, not black. And we can see, look at the script there too. You see, the red, blue, green, and blue are set between 10 and 50. So if you like another number there, because maybe you want them slightly less bright or slightly less dark, you can change this. But you can't do it in the factory scripts. What you have to do, if you have to, when it's selected, you tap to mine, and you will have now in your script mine, you will have dark background there. You can rename it later. Here you can edit it with the edit here. You also have several scripts here for changing the brightness. If you want your fractal brighter, if it's too dark, you can change it, set the brightness there to 100. Doesn't work with this one, but you can make it a bit darker if it's too light. Set it to 2, brightness 2. You say you get darker fractals. And there are a number of different values you can set here. It's the same for gamma, gamma 2, 3 or 4. Never set the gamma higher than 4, because that will make the fractal very washed out if it's not that effect that you want, so don't set it higher than 4. And you can also set a scale if you want to zoom out. Let's make it scale 50. You see, we zoom out and you see more of the surroundings. The default scale is 200. It's the same there, don't go above 200, because then the fractal will lose in quality. We have here the Fibonacci and Fibonacci minus 13. That is scripts that sets the symmetry to the numbers in the Fibonacci series. The Fibonacci number series is used frequently in nature from a lot of things, from the number of petals in the flower, the number of swirls in a snail's shell, or the number of storms at the North Pole of Saturn. So let's take a look. What these numbers do is that it lends a kind of naturalistic look to the fractals, because we are used to see these kinds of numbers all around us when we look at things in nature. And you can see that if we view the script, the numbers are set to -1, -3, -5, -8 and -13, and the same in the plus range. And what this Fibonacci -13 is just that I had made a script that omitted the -13 and 13, because 13 is often too much, I found. You see, now you don't get that very big number in the symmetry. But these are very, very useful scripts. I use them all the time. The final stripe post Focky. That inserts a final transform with stripes that divides the fractal into stripes, and another post group to that final transform with Focky in it. So you will get these shapes. They look very much the same. Not that much difference between what fractal you put them into, but there are some differences, so you can always try it. You have the random colors here, also scripts that I have made, and you can set the vibrancy. That would make the fractal more saturated. So that's my tools. Then you have a category that says other, and you have add crackle here. Don't use that, because crackle is broken and it will crash the rendering in the app, so you have to force quit the app and start it again. It won't destroy anything, but you have to force quit the app to be able to render anything after that. It will be fixed. Steven is working on it. And there's another fractal, another variation that has the same effect. I will show it to you. Let's do it now. Go to configured, and we have this one, crochet. It has the same effect, so don't use crackle and don't use crochet until we have fixed it. Oh, Steven has fixed it. We go back here, and let's see, what do we have more? Where are we? You're gonna have to go into tweak scripts. You can set the hypertile here. Hypertile is a very useful variation. These two, hypertile 1 and hypertile 2, inserts a hypertile 1 or a hypertile 2 in the normal groups, which makes a lot of repetition and of the shape of the whole fractal, and you can displace it. It's a good way to fill up the frame. With the Lua scripts you can add so much stuff that the thumbnails can't show them, so you got a lot of noise and stuff, and you have to open the fractal in the quick look to really see how it looks. But that's okay, it doesn't break anything or something like that. Another interesting variation here in the others category is grid tile. If you use it right off the bat without changing anything, you will get nothing. Well, you get something, but you see, the count here is up to 45, it's 650, and still we only got one good fractal out of it. That's because it affects different fractals in different ways. If we change from, we have symbol 3 now. Let's go out of the scripts, back. We have symbol 3. Let's change it to row Julia instead. And you see, now it works. So if you try grid tile and it doesn't work, try it with another fractal. What it does, it inserts a grid of linears that displaces the fractal. So you get a pattern. The base shape here is this round fractal, and you see it gets displaced and with a bit different colors. So what's interesting here, if you go into the tweak script, tweak it, I'm going to arguments. Here you have some settings you can set. You have the X offset and a Y offset. If we change that to, say, 6 instead of 3, they will get further apart, these variations. When you see, you get another effect out of it. And you can set the scale here. We want 125 instead. The brightness and gamma you can change. Let's see. You see we get closer, and now you still get the repetition around, but you see it has changed rather substantially. So experiment with different settings on the X and Y offsets. Let's try it with another. What should we take then? Let's take the flower star again. See what that will give us. A slightly different effect. And the heart CPOW. What will that give us? That's another one that is hard to calculate. When this happens and the fractal just doesn't appear, remember that we have a filter that filters out bad fractals that doesn't have a lot of density. So when this happens, it's just that all the fractals get filtered out because they don't have a very much density. And now we still have grid tile selected here. If we don't want to select anything, we tap the none. Nothing selected. So now we get the symbol 3 without any scripts on it. But if we want to do several things with this symbol 3 fractals now, in the factory script list here you can only select one. If I select another, the first one gets unselected. So let's say we want to add a hyper tile, but we want to do more things. That's what you use the script list for. I select a hyper tile and press this icon here to the right, a plus with several documents. It has now ended up in the script list. Now I can keep adding scripts to the script list. Say that I also want to what do I want to do? I want to scale it down to 100, put it in the script list. I want to set the Fibonacci minus 13 script, put it in the script list. And I want to add normal blur pixelize, put it in the script list. And now we have 4 scripts in the script list. And to make the app apply all those scripts, you have to be in the script list. You can't be in the factory script list, because then only add normal blur pixelize will be added. You have to be in the script list like this. We can go back there and make, and now all these scripts are applied. So there are a lot of scripts that you can try, and in different combinations. You can, of course, you can go to the menu and configure script arguments. This hasn't got an argument, but if let's take another one. You can clear the script list like that. Let's take some other scripts. Go to refactory and we add something. We add a normal variation in the normal group. When we add this to the script list, we can choose to either set the arguments here before we add the script, or in the script list later. If we change it here, we choose yes, a B circle. That's okay. And then we add it to the script list. If we want to change it here, we go to the menu and we go configure script arguments, and then you can change it. And you can change the go back here. You can change the values, and you can change how often it will be inserted. It's still 0.25 there. Let's change that to 0.5 like that. And let's add more stuff. Back to tweak scripts and back to refactory scripts. Let's change the color to analogous. Add it to the tweak script with this icon. And let's, what should we do more? We add a pre-Julian, pre-Julian, and we get to be in the script list so the app knows that this is the list that you want to use and apply to the fractals. And then you hit the make. And now all those scripts are applied. And when you have found a very good combination here that you want to keep, you can go to the menu and you can choose Save List to New Script. And if you go to Mine now, we have no, we don't. Why don't we have it? Did I miss the button? No, here, script list. These are sorted according to the alphabet. And we can see if we have that selected, you get the same effect. All those scripts are applied from just choosing one script in the script list. But we don't want to call it script list. We want to call it something else. So how do we change the name? Well, you have this folder icon here. When you have the script list, the script here selected, you hit this icon and it opens up your scripts in the file app. And here we have script list, and you can change the name. Tutorial tweak script. Like that. Okay. And if we go back to Fractal Architect now, it's still called tweak script or script list. So we can do two things. Either we can go up here and we can refresh the table, and it will now be called tutorial tweak script, or we can just go to factory and back to mine, and every time we do that the list is read from disk, so you get the right name. And if you don't want it anymore, you select it and hit the trash and it's gone. One thing to remember now, go out of Fractal Architect and to the file app on my iPad, Fractal Architect. Here are your scripts, my scripts. And when you get a new beta and you install it, or you get the final app and install that, this will be wiped. It won't be there anymore. So what I have done is I have made a, from my favorites here in iCloud, I have my scripts there. And every time I make a new script, I copy it to this my scripts in my documents folder. And when I install a new beta, I copy this my scripts to the new beta, so I'll get all my scripts into the new beta. If you forget that, your script will be gone. So don't do that. Make a safety backup that you install into the new beta or the final app when it arrives, so you don't lose the stuff that you have spent several hours to make. That will be tragic. Okay, I will make another tutorial how we use these scripts now in the new random or in the variance editor, but I will bake that together with another tutorial so we can see how to use this in real life. So I will end this now, and if you have questions, as usual, you can ask them in the comments here, or you can ask me in the FA beta user group on Facebook. So that's it for now. Thank you.